Before boundaries blur and silence starts to feel personal, make sure you're still here. Subscribe to Emo Saga for stories where temporary rules turn into permanent feelings, and intimacy grows quietly behind closed doors. The agreement is clear. Temporary, strict, clean. That's what I tell myself as I stand in the narrow entryway, my suitcase upright at my feet, my coat still on even though the apartment is warm. It's just until the renovation finishes, I say, more to myself than to him. He nods once. Yes. That's all. Not reassuring. Not dismissive. Just factual. The apartment is larger than I expected. Quiet. Intentionally minimal. Neutral colors, clean lines, nothing personal on the walls. It doesn't feel lonely, it feels controlled. I notice everything anyway. The way the lights are already dimmed for evening. The faint scent of something witty and clean. The absence of clutter. And him. Standing a few feet away, hands loosely clasped behind his back, giving me space like it's a rule he memorized. I'll show you your room, he says. Not our space. Your room. That matters. I follow him down the hall, suitcase wheels humming softly against the floor. He opens the door and steps aside immediately, letting me enter first. The room is simple. Bed neatly made. A desk by the window. A lamp already switched on. You didn't have to prepare this much, I say. I did, he replies. You're staying. The phrasing lands heavier than intended. I turn to face him. Just for a few weeks, I remind him gently. Yes, he agrees. A few weeks. But he doesn't look like someone who treats time casually. We go over the rules. They're reasonable. Shared kitchen. Separate groceries and less discussed. Quiet hours after 10. No guests without notice. Doors closed at night. You're very structured, I observe. It avoids misunderstandings, he replies. And if something changes? He meets my gaze steadily. Then we talk, he says. The word talk sounds deliberate. Intentional. That first night passes without incident. I unpack. Shower. Change into something comfortable. I hear him moving in the kitchen briefly, then retreating into his own space. The apartment settles around us. Too quiet. I lie awake longer than I should, aware of the unfamiliar rhythm. Another person's breathing through walls, footsteps that aren't mine. Temporary, I remind myself. Morning brings sunlight and the smell of coffee. I hesitate before stepping into the kitchen, then remind myself I'm an adult sharing an apartment, not sneaking through someone else's life. He's already there. Rolled sleeves. Båda förordoms. Focused. Good morning, he says without turning. Morning, I reply. There's an extra mug on the counter. For me. You didn't ask how I take it, I say. I guessed, he replies. And you can correct me. I take a sip. It's exactly right. That shouldn't unsettle me. It does. Days settle into a rhythm. We don't eat together exactly, but we overlap. Brief conversations. Neutral topics. Logistics. He never intrudes. Never lingers. And yet, he notices everything. When I come home later than expected. When I'm quiet. When I skip dinner and pretend I'm not hungry. You didn't eat, he says one evening. I'm fine. He nods. Doesn't push. But an hour later, there's a bowl of soup left on the counter. Covered. Still warm. No comment. No expectation. I eat it anyway. The rules start to soften without being spoken. Doors stay open longer. Silences stretch. I catch him watching me once, not staring, not assessing. Just aware. I should say something. I don't. One night the power flickers. Then goes out completely. The apartment plunges into darkness, broken only by streetlight glow through the windows. I freeze instinctively. It'll be back. His voice comes from the hall. Calm. Close. I know, I say. I just wasn't expecting it. There are candles, he says. I'll get them. I hear him moving. Then light blooms softly as he returns, holding one candle out toward me. Our fingers brush. Just briefly. The contact feels louder than it should. We sit at opposite ends of the couch, candlelight throwing shadows across the room. This doesn't break any rules, I say lightly. No, he agrees. But it feels like it might. He glances at me. Then we slow down. Something about the way he says we sends a quiet shiver through me. The outage lasts longer than expected. Conversation drifts from practical things to quieter ones. I didn't plan to live with anyone, I admit. Neither did I, he says. Why did you agree? He hesitates. Because you asked, he replies honestly. That's it. And because it felt right, he adds. The candle flickers. So does something inside me. Later, when the lights come back on, neither of us moves right away. Feels like something fragile would break if we did. I should go to bed, I say. Yes, he agrees. We stand. Too close. I can smell him now, clean, familiar, something grounding beneath it. This is still temporary, I say quietly. He meets my gaze. Yes. But the word doesn't feel convincing anymore. The next days are harder. Because now I'm aware of him in ways I wasn't before. The way he rolls his sleeves when he cooks. The way his voice drops when he's tired. The way he gives me space but never absence. One evening I come home exhausted. He notices immediately. You look done, he says. I am. Sit, he says, gesturing to the couch. I don't argue. He brings me a glass of water. Then another. Sits beside me but not touching. The restraint feels intimate. You don't have to take care of me, I say. I know, he replies. But you are. Yes. The simplicity of the answer makes my chest ache. I turn toward him. We should talk about this. Yes, he agrees again. Before it turns into something we didn't plan. His gaze holds mine. Or before it turns into something we're pretending not to want. The question is dangerous. Because I don't know how to lie to it. I stand abruptly. I need air. I'll walk with you, he says. No, I reply. Then soften. I just need a minute. He nods immediately. Take all the time you need. The respect in that makes everything worse. Later that night I lie awake again. But this time I'm not thinking about the arrangement. I'm thinking about the way he didn't touch me. And how that somehow felt more intimate than if he had. Temporary, I remind myself again. But the word is losing its meaning. Because some rules don't break loudly. They just quietly stop holding. The apartment feels different once the thought has settled. Not louder. Not charged. Aware. I lie awake longer than usual, listening to the faint sounds of him moving on the other side of the wall, water running, a door closing softly, the quiet discipline of someone who doesn't leave things half done. Temporary, I remind myself again. But the word doesn't carry weight anymore. Morning comes gently. Sunlight filters through the curtains, pale and slow. Like it's giving me time to decide who I am today. I dress carefully. Not out of vanity but intention. Something comfortable. Something neutral. Something that doesn't pretend nothing is happening. When I step into the kitchen, he's already there. Again. Always prepared. Good morning, he says. Morning. There's a pause, small but noticeable. We're both aware of it. You didn't sleep much, he observes. I blink. How can you tell? You're quieter, he says. You usually hum without realizing. I hadn't noticed that about myself. The fact that he has makes my chest tighten. We drink coffee standing this time, leaning against opposite counters. The distance between us is deliberate, but thinner than before. I've been thinking, I say finally. So have I, he replies. I glance at him. About? The rules, he says calmly. And whether they're still doing what they were meant to do. I exhale slowly. Protecting us? Keeping us from pretending, he corrects. That feels uncomfortably accurate. I don't want this to turn messy, I say. Neither do I. And I don't want to feel like I'm drifting into something, just because it's convenient. He nods once. Then we don't drift. Silence. Then what? I ask. We choose, he says. Or we step back. The clarity steadies me. That evening the rain starts without warning. Heavy. Insistent. I'm curled on the couch with a book I'm not reading when the lights flicker again. Not out this time, just enough to pull my attention. He looks over from the kitchen. Storm's supposed to last all night, he says. I saw. He hesitates. Then. Would you like company? Not assuming. Not hovering. Asking. Yes, I say quietly. He sits beside me, but not close enough to touch. The space between us hums with restraint. We talk. Slowly. Honestly. About why I needed somewhere temporary. About why he never planned to share his space with anyone. About the strange vulnerability of routines overlapping. At some point, I say softly, temporary becomes a decision. Yes, he agrees. That's usually the moment people panic. Are you panicking? He considers. No. Why not? Because I'm not afraid of wanting something, he says. I'm afraid of taking it without consent. My breath catches. I turn toward him fully. So what do you want? He doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he looks at me, really looks. Like he's measuring honesty, not outcome. I want to know, he says carefully, that if I close the distance, it's because you asked me to. The words settle into my chest. I don't answer with words. I shift closer. Just enough that our knees touch. He still doesn't move. You can stop this, he says quietly. I know. And if you don't, I won't regret it, I finish. That's when he moves. Slowly. Deliberately. One hand comes to rest at my waist, like grounding unmistakably there. The other brushes my arm, testing, waiting. I lean in. Our foreheads touch first. Breath shared. The kiss comes after, not rushed, not consuming. Warm. Intentional. Like something long held finally being acknowledged. When we part, it's mutual. Necessary. This changes things, I murmur. Yes, he says. That's why I waited. The days that follow are different. Not chaotic. Intentional. We don't abandon the rules, we revise them. Doors stay open. Then sometimes don't. We cook together. Eat together. Learn each other's rhythms without rushing toward labels. Temporary no longer means uncertain. It means chosen for now. One evening, as we wash dishes side by side, I realize something quietly profound. I'm not bracing for the end. I'm present. You're smiling, he says. I just realized I don't feel like I'm borrowing space anymore. He dries his hands slowly. You aren't, he says. You're sharing it. A week later, my contractor calls. Renovation's complete. You can move back whenever you're ready. I hang up and stand there for a long moment. He doesn't interrupt. So, he says gently, whenever you're ready. I meet his gaze. I don't want to rush, I admit. Then don't. And I don't want this to be an accident. It isn't, he says. It never was. I move back eventually. Not because I need to, because I choose to. And when I return for dinner 2 nights later, key still fitting the lock like it always did. It doesn't feel like crossing back into borrowed territory. Feels like continuity. Temporary arrangements are supposed to end. But sometimes they exist to teach you something. About boundaries. About restraint. About how intimacy doesn't begin with touch. It begins with respect that lasts long enough to become desire. And sometimes the most dangerous thing you can agree to is staying just long enough to realize you don't want to leave at all.